And so what I recognized was so often in business, we have these competitors, sometimes on our own teams, that we want to beat them. We've all had the experience where one of our colleagues got a promotion and we got upset, we got angry. We got angry at somebody else's success. Think about that for a second. Why couldn't we share in the joy, right? What is it about them that's being revealed in us? That's the problem, right? And so having worthy rivals, instead of competitors are other players we set out to beat. But the problem with that is there's no finish line. And so if we're obsessed with beating the other company, then at some point, sure, you're ahead in whatever metric you chose, until when, right? At what expense, at what cost? That's not sustainable. But rather, the other players inside our industry, outside our industry, on our own teams, we can choose our own worthy rivals. Their strengths reveal to us our weaknesses, and by having our weaknesses revealed to us, it means we have the opportunity to grow and improve. And the infinite game, at its core, is basically a game of constant improvement. And so our worthy rivals reveal to us our weaknesses and our opportunities to improve.
Yeah, that's one of the areas where switching your mindset really has a powerful impact and beginning to change the way that you think. That one, and I mean, oh God, all these are pretty powerful. The next one, the existential flexibility. This one maybe has the headiest title. What is it, and how do we watch out for it?
Existential flexibility is the willingness to make profound strategic shifts in order to advance your cause, 180 degrees, right? This is not the daily flexibility that you need in business. A leader, or even us as individuals, may never have to perform an existential flex, and at most you might ever have to do it in an entire career once, or never. But the responsibility of any leader is to prepare their organizations for an existential flex should it need to happen. So what is an existential flex? So the best case is really Steve Jobs and his just cause. Jobs and Wozniak had a very clear just cause, which is to empower individuals to stand up to Big Brother, right? They're revolutionaries at heart. And they saw the personal computer as a brilliant tool to help them advance that, to empower individuals to stand up to Big Brother. And Steve Wozniak imagined a time in which an individual could compete in business against a corporation thanks to a personal computer. Prescient, right? Apple's already had success from the Apple I, the Apple II. It's already a big company. Steve Jobs is already a famous CEO. And in December of 1979, Jobs and a bunch of his senior executives go and visit Xerox PARC, which was Xerox's R&D division. And Xerox shows them a new invention of theirs called the graphic user interface that allows a user to click a mouse on a desktop to move icons and folders to use the computer instead of having to learn an entire computer language. Now, Jobs, who believes in empowering individuals, sees this technology and says to his team, we have to invest in this graphic user interface thing. And the voice of reason, I guess, in the team says, Steve, we can't. We can't do it. We've already invested millions of dollars and countless man hours in a different strategic direction. If we suddenly change directions, we're going to blow up our own company. To which Jobs actually said, better we should blow it up than someone else. And that decision led to the Macintosh, the first properly graphic user interface computer that had in mass market appeal, that was so profound that the entire platform of Windows 2.0, was basically designed to act like a Macintosh, you know? And the reason we all have computers on our desks today, the reason it's a household appliance, the reason any one of us can compete against a corporation is because of this profound shift. He was willing to do that. Now, I call it a capacity for existential flexibility because it's not shiny object syndrome, which, you know, too many entrepreneurs are subjected to, you know, this is it, guys, you know, flavor of the moment. It's done with the very specific reason of advancing the cause. I found a better way to advance the cause. And you have to have the just cause, otherwise how do you know what to shift? And you have to have the trusting teams because you will put the organization through short-term hell. And the numbers probably will go down in the short term. And the team has to be willing to say, we agree, we understand why you're making the shift, let's do this. And it's gonna suck, but we're in. And they hunker down and they figure it out. If you don't have a just cause, you're literally just chasing something. And if you don't have the trusting teams, this happens a lot where sometimes the leader has the just cause, but the team doesn't know it. And if you don't have the trusting teams, then people will think you've lost your mind and they'll start abandoning ship. Or you respond to the pressures from Wall Street or outside because the numbers start to go down. But existential flexibility, like I said, if you don't have to do it, you have to prepare the organization for your successor to be able to do it, which means keep the cause alive and maintain the trusting teams.
Yeah, the existential flex to me is where the brilliance of what you're talking about comes into crystal clear focus, because it's where all the things come together. You have to have the trust of your team, which is something I think about a lot. I think about it a lot because storms come inevitably, and I think that if you can invest in your employees before you ask them to invest in you, in the moment where you need them to show up for you, they will. I think that if people are you have a quick 3-word phrase you use, but basically people are keeping their head down, they're afraid of being punished. It's like, then you're never going to get these revolutionary ideas.
Yeah.
A lot of this points back at courage. What are your thoughts around courage? How do people get the courage to play the long game?
It's not the long game, it's the infinite game. Because a long game could be 5 years, right?
True.
Yeah, this is forever.
How do people build that?
Everything that we're talking about in the infinite game is really, 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 really hard. It is so much easier to build a company based on short-term ambitions than it is an infinite cause. It just is, right? It's also fun, right? Until it's not. Less inspiring, but sometimes fun, right? Hitting a goal feels good, right? It's much easier to just hire and fire people frequently, hire fast, fire fast, as to hiring slowly and firing slowly because we try and take care of our people as best we can. It's hard to build teams. All of that stuff we talked about leadership, like what am I supposed to do to build a trusting team? Well, I wish I could give you a list of 5 things. It's really, really hard to be a parent. It's much easier to be an uncle or an aunt or not have kids, right? It's hard, right? So why do it? You know, it's fun and exciting to try and beat our competitors, you know? But to have to face our own weaknesses every day, that's exhausting. You know, existential flexibility, I'd rather not. I just would rather not. You know? So the reason this takes courage to completely change our mindset, about the game that we're actually players in, and how we want to approach these things, and do we want to shift our mindset in our organizations to prepare for the infinite game, to be organized for the infinite game, it takes courage because we're going to be swimming upstream in a world that is very finite driven. You know, the pressures on us are overwhelming from Wall Street or our own egos or from internal incentive structures or our bosses, whatever it is. The pressures are overwhelming for us to play the finite game. And so how do you stand up to massive external pressure? Courage. And courage is something that comes from relationships. You know, it's external. A world-famous trapeze artist would never attempt a brand new death-defying act for the first time without a net. They would never do it. So why do we think that we could do something difficult without external support too? I've had the opportunity to meet real heroes, people who've risked their lives to save the lives of others with the belief that they were going to die, and they didn't. And when asked, why did you do it? They all say something similar, which is they would have done it for me. It's external. And so we have to take the time to foster and take care of people around us, to nurture our relationships, because when we're going to be doing something difficult, when we're going to be swimming upstream, when we're going to be innovating and doing something different, there are days we're going to doubt ourselves. There are days we're going to get knocked in our ass. There are days that storms are going to rise, and we have to have people who say, I got your back. You need to do this. We need you. The world needs this. Keep going. I believe in you, you know? And so courage comes from not only our willingness to do that for others, but then their willingness to do it for us. And if we commit ourselves to a just cause and we're willing to do those things, then, you know, the great thing is we take a lot of people with us and change the world for the better. And isn't that sort of the point of an infinite life? To leave this world in better shape than we found it, to leave the companies that we work for in better shape than when we started, to leave our families stronger and better capable than they can do without us. You know, isn't that what it means to live an infinite life? That we can literally live on beyond our own lives.
So now, when people have that and they take that mantle on and they have the ecosystem around them that gives them that powerful support that they need to really be courageous, and I'll assume for a second that the people watching this, they have that. One thing that I imagine a lot of people feel helpless to do is influence the culture of the company that they're already in. So what is your advice for somebody that's in a company that they don't have an infinite-minded culture?
Don't
Don't be there?
No. Don't try and influence that which you cannot influence. Don't control that which you cannot control. An infinite mindset means that is something I can't do, but I can influence and take care of the people to the left of me and to the right of me. I can take care of the people who work for me. I can even take care of the person I work for. Sometimes we have a toxic boss, not because they're bad, but because we don't understand the pressure they're under. Sometimes to simply exhibit empathy to our boss, hey boss, you were really harsh on us today. Everything all right? What's going on? I'm worried about you. I'm here. Like we can succeed together. We're here to help you. No matter where we are inside an organization, leadership is not about rank or authority. Leadership is taking responsibility for the people around us. And so anybody on any team at any rank at any level can be a leader. The first choice is that we have to want to be. A dear friend of mine, Lieutenant General George Flynn from the Marine Corps, said that the first criterion to being a leader is you have to want to be one. So any of us can volunteer to be a leader. And that's what you do. You commit yourself to seeing that the people with whom we work on a daily basis love coming to work. They feel that someone's got their back. They feel supported. They feel that they have top cover. They feel someone cares about them as a human being, listens to them, knows their story, allows them to be themselves. We can be that leader. And what you start to see is those teams become really high performing. Those teams become super tight. And you start to hear rumors across the company because everybody wants into that team because apparently it's a great team to work with, to work on. And before you know it, one of those people goes and moves to another team and they take everything that they learned, because leadership is learned, and they do it for another team. And if we take that infinite mindset, then eventually the tail will wag the dog. And it doesn't matter if it's this CEO or another CEO, because we will outlast whoever's in charge right now, and that's the goal. We're doing this for the good of the organization, we're doing this for the good of the cause, right? And the tail can wag the dog.
Dude, I love that. I think you've got your finger on something so important right now, and I can feel this shift. I can feel that there's a shift happening, but they need the words to understand it, and I feel like your book delivers that. And to me, it was when you were explaining that the breakthrough moment for you was when you read about infinite games, and suddenly you had the lexicon with which to conceptualize all this. And I feel like what your book is delivering on is giving people the framework with which to understand it. I can't remember where I saw this, but there was something that said, oh, there's this color, a shade of blue that's been lost forever, not because it doesn't exist in waveforms of light, but because we don't have a word for it. And because we don't have a word for it, we can't conceptualize it. And thusly, our brain just shunts it off into one of the colors that we do have a name for. I thought, whoa, that's so powerful and so true and so accurate to the way that the brain works. And reading the book, that's what this felt like. It was like now people are going to be able to talk about it in a way that's going to let them conceptualize what a company culture can be, the way that the company can be driven by something bigger than the profits. It gives them that organizing principle. I think that's so incredibly powerful.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I agree. And I mean, that's what happened for me, which is I found words for the discomfort I had. I had words for, when people called me naive and said, you don't understand how business works, I didn't have a response because I didn't have words. I just had a feeling. And they had more success than me and they had more power than me, so I didn't say anything. Call me old-fashioned. I'd like to work for a company that outlasts me. I'd like to work for a company where I can feel like I can be myself when I go to work. I'd like to work for a company where I feel that my boss actually cares about me like I'm a human being, rather than just a number on a spreadsheet.
I'm with you there. Where can people find more about you? Where can they engage in this movement?
All the usual places. The interwebs and the LinkedIns and Facebooks and Twitters and Instagrams and all those things. I think the question is, when people say, how do I join the movement? How do I be a part of it? I always ask people the same thing, which is be the leader you wish you had. Become a student of leadership. Study it, read about it, watch things about it, practice it every day. Be a parent, join the movement means I'm going to take care of my team. Sometimes I'm in a leadership position and sometimes I'm not, and it doesn't matter. I'm going to practice leadership. If I'm a salesperson, if I work at the check-in counter of an airline, I'm going to take care of the people I work with. I'm going to take care of the customers as if they're my family. Practice leadership, learn about it, study it, because I do these things because I recognize I'm just a piece of a jigsaw puzzle. It's one of the reasons I wanted to come talk to you on camera. It's because when we do a jigsaw puzzle, the first thing you do is lean the picture, the box against the wall, and then you start putting the pieces together to build that picture. My job in this movement, I'm the guy who points at the box. Right? I'm the one who's pointing at the picture, maybe pointing out a couple of the pieces and where they go, but I need lots of people to join me. We need lots of people to join us. Who say, I have a piece of the puzzle. I'm willing to lead this way. I'm willing to abandon Milton Friedman ideals and do something bigger, something more. Live with an infinite mindset, lead with an infinite mindset, and put their piece down and say, how can I help build that vision? We need the army. And so how people can engage in the movement is actually practicing all the stuff. More than anything else, that's what we need.
What's the impact that you want this book in particular to have? I know your life mission, you've articulated that well, but what do you hope is the impact of this book?
The book is written for two reasons. One, it's to rally those who know that we have to do things differently and give them the words and some of the guidance on how to do things differently, how to play with an infinite mindset in the infinite game. And the other reason is to help us recognize those finite players, because we're going to have to work for them, buy from them, and invest in them. And it's okay if they're finite-minded, but we have a right to know. So when companies say we're purpose-driven, but they don't actually make decisions to advance their purpose, we have the right to be able to try and figure out, are they lying to us or not? Because we have to work for them, buy from them, and invest in them. And so it's to help us not only do it ourselves, but recognize when others are doing it or not.